Well, hello. I seem to have very cool light because I've got the window open. All right, I'm going to put another light on because the switch is down here. Oh, maybe that's that's a little bit better. Still too cool, but you know what? Daylight, sunshine, it's a good thing. So we'll take it, right? And how is everyone feeling after shovel-o-rama yesterday? Are you still digging out, or did you manage? I hope you did. Yesterday, I don't know how long shoveling, but quite a bit. And there's still a little bit out there that snowed after I finished and was too tired to start again. So hello, Rebecca. Nice to have you along. Um, let's try and get a little water into this voice. And Jane. Jane, it's so awesome to have you. Welcome back. Yay. Yeah, it is nice to have you back, Jane. That's awesome. And Philippa, oh, it's great to have all the cool kids back. I mean, everyone who joins is a cool kid, but Philippa, great to have you along. And I hope I hope you guys my my shoulders are a little bit sore from yesterday from all that snow lifting, but at least it wasn't wet, right? It was um, it was nice and fluffy at least. Hello, Kathleen. Thank you for giving me the heads up in your. I appreciate that because I am a bear of little brain and I forget all too easily. So thank you. How are you, Kathleen? Hope you're doing well. Have you been collaging up a storm with with the EAG and so on, or working on some stuff at home? Hopefully. Um, ah, well, I just didn't have a preamble loaded in my head. So, um, oh, thank you, Philippa. This is my favorite. Uh, I think it's no secret that what I wear are wigs, but I bought one of these last year and I really, really loved it. And in the times past, I've bought the same wig again and then had it run out because it was too popular. This one, I think, because it was not shown to best effect on the website, I was able to buy a whole bunch, which is awesome. So I've got like a good supply of them. So you'll be seeing this look a lot this year. So and it's my favorite of arguably everything I've worn. So yeah, so awesome. Um, so and it's also like to get the this wrong side. Oh, ah, the camera just screws me up so royally. To get the ombre that this has at a salon, it would be ridiculously expensive, right? And then it would grow out. But this one's good and consistent. So, um, so today we have a prompt from a gallery in New Zealand, actually. No, not New Zealand, Australia, Melbourne, I think. Yeah, I think it's in Melbourne. And so if you like to make a piece and want to submit it, you could absolutely do that, which would be kind of fun uh, to submit a piece to a show in on the other side of the world, quite literally, right? Southern Hemisphere. I don't know if you took a line from Toronto through the center of the earth where it would pop out on the other side, but it's got to be close to Australia. Um, so yeah, so that'd be kind of fun to. No pressure. You could use the prompt and just make a collage, or you could, as always, you can ignore the prompt as well. Um, so it's the prompt is to use basically surrealism like Magritte, and surrealism really depends on this idea of everything looking exactly as you would expect, except there's something that is different, right? That goes, oh, like, and um, it's arguably it's surrealism is easiest if you're drawing or painting because if you're going to like a Magritte piece that comes to mind is a picture of a fireplace, but out of the fireplace is coming a train engine, right? Um, and when you paint, you can light everything the exact same so that it looks exactly like it should. The train looks exactly as it should. The fireplace looks exactly as it should. It's just the fact that it's coming out of the fireplace, right? So, and you would think that with collage, you could do that pretty easily too, except I've noticed usually it's really hard to find like um, uh, different collage bits that look very similar in terms of lighting and all of that. So, but it's something we can still play with, and it actually, apart from that one little thing, that sort of verite feeling that you get when you can control all the circumstances, collage is actually really great for juxtaposition, right? So it should be fun. So Nellie, hey, how are you? Nice to have you along. Awesome. And Annie, yay, how are you, Annie? Happy New Year, everyone. Um, I, I, this is my second collage jam, so it's almost the end of January, so I guess I could get rid of Happy New Year until Chinese New Year, which are Asian Lunar New Year, which is coming up soon. Um, oh, likewise, Nellie, likewise, yeah. Are you in Canada or elsewhere these days? Um, yeah, be nice to see you in person again. There are a bunch of people here I haven't seen in person in way too long. So, but at least we've got this, right? So, so I'm going to be playing with, to the best of my ability, with the idea of sort of surrealist juxtapositions. And um, Ricky, holy moly, wow, that is awesome. Great to have you here, Ricky. And it's probably a very good thing to be virtually visiting Canada these days. Wow. Yeah, I'm not going to dwell on it. And I know you are looking for a little reprieve from it, but let's just say sending out hearts because what a, yeah, I was saying to, I said to a neighbor when I was out walking yesterday who was grumbling about, about the snow. And I said, at least it's just snow and not ice, so yeah. Um, so it says January the 12th. Did I really say that? Oh, that's good for me. Like, sorry guys. I try my best to get the right dates on things, but my mistake. Um, yeah, I hear you, Ricky. So yeah, stay safe. Yeah, I, I I've seen a bunch of posts from people, and I mean, obviously everywhere, but especially in Minnesota these days, and they're saying like, is this getting out, or are people hearing this? And I'm replying on Instagram a lot, saying yes, we're hearing about it. It's awful. We see you. Send support. But yeah, wow, what a. So fingers crossed that that no one else has to lose their life before this. Uh, I'm not going to call them a government regime, right? Uh, is brought reined in. So, but I'm not going to dwell on that because we're here to do collage, and it's we can acknowledge that it is hard and wrong and all of that, but I know. Um, something that I really believe is that it's very important for us as artists to continue to make work, to continue to be creative. Um, there are a lot of things in this world that are out of our control, and what we do and what we make gives us a sense of agency, right? So, ability to create something. Um, so, I think that's really important. Maybe I'll take maybe what I'll do in I have all the prompts set up for the rest of the term, but maybe I will switch one of them to a sort of an activist slant, because I think that's also something that as artists we can do. I was watching Kim and I were watching a video from an artist in the US who was saying now is the time when we need to step up in any way that we can, and um, that for people to see positive messages or memes or things on social media that support them rather than oppress them is the gift that artists can give. So yeah, so I'm when I think about that, I think maybe in one of the nearby, like one of the soon we'll set up that change a prompt for that. So um, Nellie says, I'm on the other side of the world, but managed to get to you. Awesome, Nellie. That's great. Yay. Yeah, just left Canada. Yeah. So enjoy, hopefully, as much as possible. And nice to have you back here virtually. So, all right. So I'm going to switch to my overhead camera and get this party started. Meanwhile, guys, let me know if you are going to work from the prompt or if you're going to do something else, which is totally cool. I, as you would expect, am going to work from the prompt. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to go black for a minute or two while I get the camera set up in the overhead rig, and then let's get cutting and gluing. All right, don't adjust your set. Everything is good. Just getting this camera up here and its wire more or less out of the way. All right, and get it onto my messy desk. Well, actually, it's not too bad. That's because I just shoveled off a whole bunch of stuff. So, and I'll switch to my maker glasses. So do you guys have an idea as far as what you're thinking about doing surrealist wise if you're working with the prompt? I mean, you could do worse than to spin off of one of Magritte's pieces, right? Sometimes that is that can be really fun. Like if you have a favorite Magritte piece, to pay, and now I'm wishing I had done this, but I didn't. Pay a tip of the hat to it, like the one that is the window out, the view out the window, where there are a whole bunch of men raining down in different sizes, so they look like they're falling. You could take that same setup but change some element like the view or what's raining, or you could take the fireplace and have something else coming out of it, right? Unfortunately, I didn't think of that, but so I thought I would work with some figures and then some juxtapositions of I got some things that I thought might be very different than a human figure. So cracked mud, food, rhino. So I'm going to see what I can come up with those. And so the first thing I'm going to do is go look for a few figures. I'll just grab them out so that I have a few of those to choose from. this is a perfect case of what I'm talking about. Like this, like here's a photo. This food, right, is like brightly lit, juicy colors, and the whites are almost white. Whereas here, this is a very, oh man, sorry, voice is struggling. This is a very moody shot with a very warm, understated, lowered contrast kind of setting. So, you know, maybe there's an opportunity, like the Magritte piece where everything is above the below the horizon, everything is dark, like a night scene, and but the sky is daytime. So there might be something like that that takes advantage of different photographs' qualities. So that's actually not a thought that not a thought that had occurred to me, but definitely worth. That's a possibility, right? So. I'm just going to grab a few images to be able to leaf through and then play with. And what else can I tell you? I am, well, isn't that outrageous and fun? Wow. I love what they did here. They took two photographs of the model and aligned them basically so that they feel like two people wearing sort of the same piece of clothing right across, which, you know, that's awesome. I love it. So that's a great art director thing. It probably didn't come up as an idea from the photographer, although it might have. But when they were looking through the shots and looking at how they could present them, they came up with that, which I love. That's so fun. It's funny. I've been through this magazine before, and I haven't noticed it before then. Wow, this is great. They're doing like a sort of double exposure, or actually not sure whether it's playing with the shadows or a horizontal shift, but it's really fun what's happening here. I think I showed you last week or last time some pictures from a project that both Kim and I are contributing to. But if not, I'll just show them to you again briefly. And you may, if you hadn't weren't with us last time, these are some figures that I'm doing for a project that is our friend Elaine Whitaker is doing a show at Redhead Gallery downtown Toronto at 401 Richmond, and she is what's called a sci artist. She always has like a scientific slant to things. And in this case, she's doing a show called Cum Grano Salis, which is with a grain of salt. And that's pretty funny because if you know her, because she's done a whole bunch of work with salt crystals, encrusting, growing salt crystals on things. But she's also done all kinds of work that has sort of scientific bases for the work. But this show is going to be it's sort of a alternate fantastical futures. And she said to us, we're very good friends with her, Kim and I, and she said to us, I don't want to. I'm done with doing solo shows. She doesn't feel the need the need anymore to do solo shows. So so this show is going to have work by several other artists. She's collaborating with them. So there are going to be 3 or 4 sort of major collaborations where she and one other artist are working on large installations. But there is going to be a wall of circular portals, as she's calling them, with alternate utopian or dystopian or speculative futures. And so she wanted me to do something, or she invited me, let's put it that way, because she wouldn't tell me what to do. But she said, maybe you want to do something with a sort of a trans future. So I said, yeah, I haven't really addressed it head on in my work. It sort of skirts around transness. So these are figures that have lots of different chunks of different people. So just this morning, I was working with them on my computer, composing how these 3 might fit on a circular panel. And so I think I've got that figured out. But it was really fun, and the project has to be all blues, or sorry, not all blues, predominantly blue. So I'm cutting these backgrounds off. So there are going to be a few pink bits, but a lot of blue, and the background is going to be blue. So yeah, so that's kind of exciting to be nearing the end of that. And then the other thing is I have to really, really put the hammer down to get work done for artist project. So I have been working hard on that, trying to get caught up. And artist project is what I use as my sort of deadline to produce a bunch of new work, right? So unfortunately this year, it's at the end of March, which is sooner than it's been in the past. So, and I didn't start early enough. So I have lots of work to make, which in some ways is awesome, right? To have lots of work to do. Because I can legitimately say, oh, I don't have time to do that right now. I just have to do my work. So, but I try not to look at the calendar too much because it freaks me out a little bit. All right, before I dive in, I am going to check your comments and then see where we go from here. So just briefly, a thought I was having was to cut parts out and then slip some of these surprising images underneath to like maybe fill something that, like her hat, with something else unexpected, and see whether I can find something that looks sort of stealthy, like not like, oh my God, she's got a salad on her head, right? But something that that sort of at first glance you miss, but then you go, oh, cool. So we'll see whether that actually works. Holly, hello, Holly. Sorry, you probably put that comment in ages ago. but I just went back to take a look. So welcome aboard. Nice to have you along. Are you going to be working with the the surrealist prompt as well? All right. You know, this what they're wearing is already plenty surprising, right? So all right, just time to get warmed up and started. So I'm going to start with this one here. I'm going to remove her purse and give her something else to carry in the shape of a purse. Just trying to figure out, sometimes it's hard to find the edge of something. That corner of the purse was a little tricky, but figured it out. Sometimes you just have to make it up, right? Because like something has a clear edge, but then it goes into darkness, and you don't know if you're looking to cut it out, and you just have to like, all right, I think it's going to be around here. And so that's a perfect case of when of the fact that the more you look at stuff as an artist, right, the more visually experienced and the more visually practiced you are at looking at things, the better your educated guesses are when, for instance, you're cutting something out and you can't find the edge, but you can think, okay, well, from this, then it makes sense that it would be something like this, right? So Kim and I have talked about the fact that like you know, something that that gets leveled at people sometimes is, oh, you just traced it, right? and um, and both Kim and I will definitely trace things from time to time because it's what works, you know, because that isn't what it's about. Like if we're practicing drawing, then of course tracing is of no use. But when we're making artwork, sometimes tracing is exactly what you want. And it makes sense to do it. But the more the more visually experienced you are, the more you can trace what matters, and you notice like little things that should be included, or you can gloss over things that shouldn't be. So the decisions you make about what is the line going to be are important. Like for instance, if I'm cutting out a figure, actually anything, but when I'm cutting out a figure and the silhouette is important with the figure, right? So if there's like a piece of clothing that and then it overlaps something else, there is going to be at least a slight little notch, like difference of width. So making sure to acknowledge that rather than just going straight by it helps it to feel right. So So even when we're talking about something that you would think, oh, well, tracing, that's just like following an edge, right? Yes and no. It's just following an edge until you have to make the right decision, right? So, and sometimes that is not as easy as it sounds. I think, there are things that we think of as cheating or as a dodge or, as questionable practice. And I think it's important to know your why, right? Like there are times when those rules apply, right? And you have to know why you're doing it. And does it apply to this situation or does it apply to me in this situation, right? Because we all have different standards for what we're trying to do, right? So, a good example is watching Mary Pratt do a tracing of like a crumpled tinfoil so that she could paint it, right? That just given the nature of her work and how insanely detailed it was, it just looked like an insane number of crisscrossing lines and shapes and like until you see what she does with it. And for her work, it's about what she does with it, right? So, so for her, that was a decision like whether I trace or not is not what my work is about, right? So. I'm going to try something else. I have that picture a bit larger too, so maybe that'll be a better choice. I just thought there was something about this, the colors and shapes in this that might be sort of interesting in this one, in this context too. It might be kind of fun to put some of the salad into the into the foliage as well. I don't know. It's not quite working for me, so I'll see what else I've got. This picture of citrus halves already has like a patterny kind of feeling to it. So that's kind of fun, right? It almost looks like that could be a purse design, right? The black background with the different colors. Have to get this one little piece out under her thumb. That's kind of fun too, isn't it? That rhino. But because this is a pattern, essentially. It doesn't, it's not as surprising. So maybe it's not quite right. All right, well, I'm going to put that one aside and maybe find, maybe I'll find something else for it afterwards. And all right, I'm going to try this girl with her ornate petal hat and dress, which is going to take some cutting, I'm telling you. Perfect, right up my alley. And try filling those with something surprising. Before I get started, I'll check in on your comments. Oh, okay, Holly, I see. I'm sorry about that. It's because I have been chock-a-block full busy, and so I haven't gone and accepted you. My apologies. I will do that right after this session. And Jane is going to work Magritte like. That's going to be fun. Philippa says, I can't find you on TV. I mean, I still have the YouTube channel, so it's like that's what we're on. So I forget whether my YouTube handle is Cat Honey or Cat Honey Art. I think it's Cat Honey. So it should be like if you search for Cat Honey, it should be findable. Holly says, thank you for sharing this call for submissions. Looks like a cool project to work towards. I can't see a deadline for submissions on their website. Anyone know when it is? You know what? I looked at the submissions, but now I've forgotten. So they also gave an email address, so you could email them and ask. Maybe the shell, you said. Yeah, sorry about the Facebook group. Yeah, no worries, no problem. Behind her hand, maybe the shell. Do I have a shell? Oh, this is an ice cream, actually. I don't know whether that's what you were thinking was the shell. It does have sort of a nautilus-like shape. So, yeah, maybe. In fact, you could have another hand. It's about the right scale. So, and he says, just enjoying your company and looking for a password I lost. Oh, no. Yeah, it can be like sometimes the camera doesn't like get the exposure just right, but you can see when you see the hand, right? The hand kind of helps it make sense. But so she's posing, it looks like, up against something rock-like or weathered, like maybe a sculpture. So I'm thinking if I take her hat and dress out, I might fill it with, I have a picture of like cracked mud, and I have some close-ups on rhinos. And I thought, like, I should have a big one here somewhere. Yeah, like this kind of stuff might be surprising as peeking through. So I'm going to try that. And then it would sort of relate to these things as well, or at least that's my hope. I need a sharper blade, I can tell. Actually, it's time for a new blade entirely. So. I just have to remember where I put my blades. So the blades come with they usually have a little bit of oil on them to keep them from rusting. So they're packed together. So I often use my knife to separate one off the edge first. At least sometimes I do. There we go. It can be more difficult than you'd think sometimes. Yeah, I can feel the oil, so sometimes what I'll do is just wipe it down a little bit. I'm sure it's fine because it's not really going to get on your work from just the cutting edge touching, but so probably didn't really need to do that, but there you go. Oh, nice, clean, fresh blade. Cutting like a dream. Does obviously you have to make the work first, but if you, presuming you make something with today's prompt that you like, would you consider submitting it to that show? Another thing I didn't find out is if you could send a digital file or whether you had to mail the original, presumably the original, but I don't know that. So but first things first, right? Get into the show and then and then see how that goes. See what happens then, right? So I do get myself into some pickles where her hair stops and the hat starts. It's a little, again, there's a case where I'm going to have to make up what makes the most sense to me because I can't. Hair is a perfect case in point about what I'm talking about because you can't cut between individual strands of hair. So you have to make judgment calls, right? So all right, sorry guys, I got into the cutting there for a moment. Jane, what have you picked a subject yet, or are you still looking for one if you're thinking of working surrealistically. All right. Yep, another case of, all right, what makes the most sense from a cutting point of view for what to show here with these locks flying along? No, I think that has to come out. All right. For a moment, I had the thought, wait a minute, I've already gone down this, but no, it has two complex edges. I've been down this one, now I have to go back up the outside one. I was thinking, oh no, I'm doing another one. Why? How? But I think that we all know that I like to do detailed cutting out, but that's another thing that that can help with surrealism. Actually, is it gives it it makes it more surprising, I guess, because it feels less like collage. Like, oh yeah, but yeah, you couldn't cut all that out, right? Or except some of us like to try. And actually, it just occurred to me that I'm going to have this strange. I'm not sure it'll still read as a hat once I've got it cut out, but I could put it on something else, put it into another context, as well as putting something into this woman's context. That's one of the reasons I like to cut out accurately, so that the negative and the positive are intact, because then you can use what you've cut out for something else, right? So if you're going to do all that cutting, you might as well get two uses out of it, right? All right, that's too fine. I'm just gonna, well, I guess I better take that out actually, because it'll look. So another thing that I have I have to think about is if I leave little bits of white on the edges, then it'll look wrong. So that's another reason to cut out accurately. Boy, I'm really losing my voice, guys. Sorry. I'll check in with comments in a minute or two. Is so one of the prompts I have coming up for February is one of the daily prompts from Februage. Is anyone planning on doing the entire month of Februage or trying to take it on, the collage a day for every day in February? Let us know in the comments. I shouldn't say in the comments, in the chat. Because I can see the chat. I can't see the comments until after. So. Oh. Not usually that inaccurate, but there's first time for everything. All right, let's see what you guys are saying, if anything. And Jane says, yes, I'm working strictly with magazine models and florals. Have no idea how it will turn out. That's fine, right? You got to start somewhere, right? Tommy Ross in concert. Cool. Nice, Tommy. I assume it's Tommy. Hello. Welcome aboard. Is this your first time or were you here once before? I'm trying to remember. But anyway, glad to have you here. That's awesome. And Annie says she's planning on taking on Februage. Way to go, Annie. One a day, or if you're on a roll, maybe or two. Yeah, that can be a good thing to do, right? Like they are one a day, but they publish them in advance. So if you are on a roll, or if you're playing catch up, which would be more likely me, you can do more than one at a time, right? And Holly says she's going to do one collage with tearing only per week to get a gentle habit going, right? Yeah, fibrillage might be a little too deep end. Yeah, of course, right? But one a week, that's a great start, right? Consistency is great. It really helps to sort of build a habit of like, I do this every week. But it's also something that you have to be careful about not beating yourself up about, right? So it's a balancing act, right? Because doing once a week or having like it puts a little pressure on us to do something that we want to do, right? So that's good, as long as it doesn't flip over into a really negative thing. Trying to figure out how far I got before I left comments. Okay, that's where I got to, I think. So this thing that I'm cutting out here is another case in point of something that will probably look a little weird no matter what I put underneath, because her hat, right? It's nicely lit at the top, but as it gets down to this darker area, it gets darker. So I can, knowing that, I could look for things that sort of approximate that I put into place, but it's never going to look quite right. But that is kind of uh, a liability and a strength of collage, right? I know people who do collages that that are that are representational. They're always looking for visual analogies, right? Like, oh, in my reference image, it's an area of ivy, but I'm going to use some salad, or I'm going to find things that like that maybe have nothing to do with it, but they're the right color and the right sort of texture. So, and then making that work can be really, really interesting and fun. And that's another skill, right? Is looking for finding things that can stand in for other things. Hmm. Hair is always tricky. Like, what's your edit? What do you leave and what do you take out? There's always somewhere where you didn't quite get the cut fully done, right? You have to go and help it along a little bit. Yeah, I don't think I made up my mind here. I have to go back and fix it. Okay. Oh, another area that I missed. All right, so there. So I've got that out, but there are a few places, especially up in the dark here, where there's a little bit of the white or the off-white showing up that I want to just cut off because they will they will not look right. And I'm not talking about the white of the paper edge. I'm just talking about a little bit still showing of the petals. Yep, same down here. All right, that's at least better. Ah. I think this one's too small, but I'll take a look and see. Yeah, doesn't, not enough of it. I'm not sure it's incongruous enough. I mean, the eye helps for sure. But maybe that's the point, right? So I'm going to give that a whirl. I'm going to go with that. Find some tape. And so I can sort of hold my spot there. First of all, I have to decide if I like it or whether I want to fine tune it a little bit. There's something about this spot that seems to sort of fit the eye. So all right, so I'm going to just try and cut because I want to use some of the rest of the rhino for somewhere else down here. So just cut this out so that it will fit through. I come down here and come down to here. It's fine. That looks like it's doing that. Hopefully I didn't cut it short. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Now. And now maybe I can use either this area or this area in this shoulder strap area. There's something about the this sort of really gnarly area that's kind of fun. Although it's dark up here where you'd expect it to be light, so maybe it has to go this way instead. Yeah, so that that kind of makes a little bit more sense because it's sort of darker here, lighter up here. But I'm also going to try this. This area is probably not big enough. Oh, maybe it is. Let's see. Not quite. Or only just. Actually, that's not bad. But this edge is kind of strange. But that kind of picks it up nicely. So let's see so looking at that one. Sorry, it's not really in the center of your view, is it? So I'm looking at that. That's one option. And then the other one, I'm going to look at this area. Further up, maybe up to about there. I don't know. I kind of think that feels better. So I'm going to go with that one. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Holly Holly asks, how do you guys approach creating shapes when tearing, not cutting? I noticed everything I tore out for my last collage was very rectangular, which created a grid-like composition instead of loose. So, yeah, I was working on, in fact, sometimes the magic works. I have a piece here that I was doing a lot of tearing for, and this is the beginning of a winter scene that I wanted to bring color into. So there are all kinds of like dark tree trunks and dark river that I didn't even get to, but I had some of exactly what you're talking about. Part of it is the nature of certain papers have a grain to them. Like you'll notice when you tear paper, some of it goes very in one direction. It tears very straight, but then if you flip it 90 degrees and try and tear it, it's really irregular. So that's something just to be aware of. Another thing you can do is try and defeat it by like holding a thumbnail or something and tearing around the shape, like holding down. It's probably better to just demonstrate, right? So I just need a piece of scrap paper. So you could kind of do this kind of feeling to create a curve, right? Or like a larger, if you want it to have a larger curve, you can sort of tear, and it doesn't work perfectly, but that's kind of what you want, right? So that has a bit of a curve with some flaws. So you could like tear off little bits. So I will sometimes like refine my tears a little bit. And this paper seems to have a fair bit of, like it doesn't seem to have a really strong grain. So something you can do is you could tear a piece like that. What am I trying to say? Okay, so what I was thinking was, you can build up a feeling that kind of feels like painting with paper by starting with bigger chunks underneath that, and then putting smaller and smaller chunks. So like, for instance, that chunk and that chunk are all the same piece underneath, but because I put other pieces over top, it's created additional shapes. So, but I didn't worry about some straight edges because there are going to be a bunch of tree trunks here, but you'll see a bunch of what you're talking about, like tears that were more or less straight. So it's just a case of try a few different kinds of paper. Generally, the thicker the paper, the more difficult it is to tear, right? But there are softer and harder papers too, right? This was just copy paper that I was doing with the demo. So it's a case of, I think, trial and error, and then trying to imagine a different way of going about it, right? So, like probably most of us have wanted like a straight edge that doesn't feel super crisply cut. So you put down a ruler and tear the paper against the ruler. So it's straight, but it has like a little bit of a fuzzy, and sometimes it'll have little irregularities. So that's something you can do. Yeah, but to tear rounded shapes, it helps to have things like either your thumbnail or another rounded shape to sort of help you tear with. Another possibility is, or another thought, let's put it that way, is if you know the collage you're doing, you want to use a bunch of these pieces. you could tear a bunch of things in advance. So while you're tearing, you're not thinking about, oh, it's going to go here or here or here. You're making a palette, right? So you tear a bunch of small pieces, roundish, and you tear a bunch of bigger pieces, roundish, and you array them sort of above your work, and then you can like pick like what you want. And of course, sometimes you still like, oh, I need a piece that's more this shape, so you tear it and glue it on, right? But anything that allows you to focus on one thing at a time rather than several makes it easier, right? So if you're just thinking about like tearing the curves and the rounded shapes, and then you lay them out, and then now you're composing with them, that can be helpful. Hopefully some of those are helpful, Holly. I'm a big fan of deferring decisions that I don't need to make on an artwork yet, because I know if I try and figure it out all at once, you can't, right? So I will think, okay, that part I don't need to know right away, but the part I need to start with is this part. So I'm going to just put my attention on that, right? And then I'll get to that other thing later. So anything that does that, I like. This piece I was just showing you is perfect case in point, right? It was a very high contrast photograph that I was using as my reference. And I thought, what I want to do is take like all the white or off-white snowy bits and make them up of lots of color. And I'm not even going to think about the darks at all yet. So immediately that means I'm just focused on like half of the image. I'm not thinking about like making sure those trees are in the right place, what shape are they, and so on. I sort of figured out where approximately the river is, approximately where the sort of the ground meets the trees, stuff like that. But that can be fine-tuned later when I get to the darks. So so that's a case in point of where not trying to juggle it all in your head can work out really well. Now, the more experienced we get is what I'm trying to say. The easier juggling more balls gets, right? So there are things that are more or less automatic to me because I'm old and I've been doing visual things all my life, right? So there are things that I don't even think about that I do, but there are still lots of things that I have to I find beneficial to break down into chunks so that I'm not trying to figure it out all at once. All right, Rhino Girl. All right, I was cocky and I didn't think ahead, so I have to actually make that cut in a different place. So I have to do a repair. That's classic. And another thing I'd recommend, Holly, is to not be too distracted when you're making making decisions. She said after the fact. Got a little scrap of paper on it, so I'll get rid of that piece of tape. And this one's got another scrap. All right, finally getting there. All right, let's try that again, shall we? It's still going to be a line there, but I need to go wider, like over here. And then cut this off. Okay. So I'm just using tiny little pieces of masking tape for, I normally use painter's green, but I don't seem to have any on my desk. But just to keep things where I want them to be until I get to the point where I'm going to glue things together. Sometimes I don't even worry about that. I will scan something, and then the scan becomes the work rather than the actual collage. But this one's kind of, I think this is not quite what I was hoping, but it has some of that feeling because it's unexpected, right? But it doesn't leap out until you look at it a bit longer. So that it's, I wouldn't say that this is going to be a piece I'm super proud of, but I do like that. And that's kind of some of what the feeling I'm looking for with the surrealism. So I see I don't have much time left already. It's flying by. So I mean, another thing I can just touch on is, oh dear, hang on a second. So the reason I'm despairing is I threw some tape over there and it got stuck to the piece that I had been thinking that I might take from her and put into some of their context. Probably not that context, but maybe there is some context that it would work. Too small for that, so maybe our rhinoceros would like it. And if I were going to do this, I would then bring the horns in front of it, because I think that would be more unexpected and amusing. So, you know what? Seeing as we don't have a ton of time, I am going to just have a little rhinoceros fun here. All right. All right, so that's that's kind of silly and fun, and it's not showing up very well. So let me get a piece of tape on it, and then I'll hold it closer to the camera. But it's a very fashionable rhino. So tucking it behind the horns, and then I just cut along the edge of the eye, which protrudes a little bit so that I could tuck it just a little bit. I got a tear there, oh well. Behind the eye also makes the eye feel like it's forward, which I think is working well. Yeah, so there we go. Little Rhino exchange, Rhino fashion exchange program there. All right, I'm not, yeah, it's going to take a bit of cutting, but I'm going to try just removing the whites of this dress and popping something else in. That may take me beyond beyond our time limit. So what I'll do is I'll cut, I won't worry about the bottom part, I'll cut the top out and then slip something underneath to see whether it works. And then I'll still go over a few minutes, but not as much. So if you are, if you have to leave us right at 3:30, I totally understand. Thank you for coming. Our next jam is in 2 weeks, and I think it's the last day before, like the last collage jam day before Valentine's Day. I think it's the 9th, but don't hold me to that, of February. And so the prompt is something to do with hearts. Oh dear, let me check my calendar. All right. It is February 9th, and it's called, and the prompt is Love Will Save the Day. So you can, oh, just having a cramp. Oh my goodness. Oof, nasty one. Sorry, guys. Wow. You know, I do try to stay hydrated, but probably I got a bit dehydrated shoveling yesterday with all the, but, you know, I do drink a lot of water. I don't know. Oh, wow, that was a nasty little leg cramp there for a moment. That tends to be where my dehydration shows up, is in my hamstrings. So obviously, as hydrated as I thought I was, I need more. And you're probably saying, yeah, your voice sounds like you need it too, Kat. So, yep. I'll not only get hydrated, I'll have some electrolytes too, which should help. And so, how did your collages go, guys? Did you come up with something fun and surreal? If so, please feel free to share it with us in the Virtual Collage Jam group Facebook page. And yes, I'll let you in, Holly. Sorry. And I think I would have been better sticking with the bottom half of the dress, not the top half. The top half has all the details. Classic. Oh well. I'll just do this one area. But for instance, our next collage jam, if you want, you could make a collage for the love of your life, or um, just someone you'd love to give a Valentine's to, or just give a collage to. So, and as always, they are optional prompts. So if that isn't the kind of thing you're into, you could just try something else for that particular um, session. So. There we go. All right, so for instance, something like cracked mud might be kind of interesting in that setting, right? Instead of the white dress, or that would be that's kind of fun too, right? I mean, I put it into this context, but I could that's pretty fun too, right? Like those petals, because they're somehow seem the right thing. These are a graphic floral. It's also sort of a warm warm yellowy white. So for her, I might go looking for something that that is like that. So she could. That's kind of fun too, right? Just this because it's very obviously a paper collage, so that's kind of fun too, rather than a photograph. So yeah, so lots of options. All right, I should wrap this baby up, right, guys? So just come back here to do that, so we can. All right, and hydrate. That's better. All right. So I'll just pick up on the final comment. So Holly said, "Ooh, interesting about the grain. I was not aware." Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing that you learn as you go, but it once you're aware of it, it makes sense. Like, oh, that's why this is tearing really well this direction, but terribly this. I'm wrestling it the other direction, right? So Holly says. Ooh, tearing around objects. Cool. Great demo and advice. Thank you. You're welcome. One thing at a time. Exactly. Perfect advice and helps break it down and take pressure off. Exactly. I'm a big fan. Like, I lived in a pressure environment for a long time as a graphic designer. And so a survival strategy was sort of looking at something and saying, okay, how do I break this down so that I don't have a nervous breakdown? Right. So, yeah. Um, um, uh, yeah, don't worry about distracting me. I am so easily distracted. If you start apologizing for that, you'll never stop. So um, get them closer, please. Oh, sorry about that. Thank you so much. I'll try to attend more often. Yeah, thank you, Ricky. It's so great to have you back. I'll pass along. I know if Kim were here, she'd love to have had you here. So I'll pass along a hello, and I'm sure she does to you as well. Um, uh, all right, take care, Kathleen. Nice to have you along. Annie, same thing, and Holly as well. So couple of weeks, fortnight, and love will save the day because yeah, because love is like that, right? So, um, yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Nice to have you along. I'll pass it along to Kim and say hi to Kirk from us, and hi to you, and thanks for joining us. All right, guys, keep collaging. And if you liked what you came up with, or even if you want to just share work in progress, pop it in the Virtual Collage Jam page where I'm going next to let Holly in and take a look at whatever else you guys have posted. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys. Take care.